Go. Okay, so this event will be recorded and it will be available to you once we do our survey. You'll receive a copy of the recording. It will also be available on our YouTube channel. And I didn't double check, but this event has 1.25 CCEUs. And you will be receiving that as well with the survey. And the surveys are done manually, so please give us about a week or two to have that available to you guys. As far as questions go, please feel free to put them into chat, and Daryl and I will be monitoring that and you know, asking Anne sporadically throughout this event. And let me see what else. Oh, and last but not least, I just wanted to remind everyone you can still renew your memberships if you have not done so with ICF Global, and please choose Orange County as your chapter because we rock and we'd love to have you guys and be members with us. So with that, I'd love to hand it over to Daryl, who is on our programming committee, to please introduce Anne.
Thank you, Nenore. Yeah, and it's my pleasure to introduce Anne, who I got to know a couple of weeks ago as we were chatting about today's presentation. Anne is a professional certified coach and a certified mentor coach. She's also the founder of the ICF accredited CCEAS.com. That is CCEASE.com. You can see it displayed behind her on that poster. In 2020 and 2021, Anne volunteered as a member of the ICF Ethics education team, tasked with updating the ICF's 3-hour ethics course to reflect the new code. She's a 2020 graduate of the ICF's 6-month PCC assessor training, and Anne has been a CCE course instructor since 2014 and a federal executive coach since 2003. She has served for 10 years as a volunteer for ICF Metro DC chapter, the last 3 years as the chapter's group mentor coach. Anne provides all training and mentoring in a critique-free environment that encourages maximum learning, safety, willingness to risk, and focused on the joy and love of coaching that brought us all here in the first place today. So again, it's my pleasure to welcome Anne this morning, or this afternoon in her time zone.
Daryl, thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm smiling, looking at Peter Redding smiling at the learning environment, because that's the learning environment Peter Redding created. That, and this chapter has California has a special place in my heart. I went to my ACTP, now known as Level 2 coach training in San Diego. So that's where it started for me, was Coach for Life in 2005. So it's a very special place for me. I'm going to somewhat share my thoughts and opinions with you. So I just encourage you to listen to lots of coaches, because at some point we interpret the competencies, the ethics, the markers, our work, and develop our view of that. So I have a view of that today, and I just invite you to consider the source, which is me. What do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you a little bit more about how I got into coaching. I was a senior leadership trainer for the federal government in 2001, and then in 2003, they started a coaching program. Fortunately, I was away presenting at a conference, so I didn't have to go to coach training. So I thought, whew, I knew nothing in 2003 about coach training, other than they piloted a program for a year. I thought, based on nothing, that what you did as a coach was listen to people complain. I don't know, you know, in a vacuum, you fill in the information. So this is what I mean when I say consider the source. We got 12 hours, the senior training specialist got 12 hours of coach training, 12 hours, a day and a half of coach training. We were assigned 6 mid-level executives and their team for a year-long leadership program, and it made a difference. 12 hours. How many of you have more than 12 hours of coach training? Come on. Yeah, a lot more. But don't doubt yourself wherever you are. I think of that, some 12 whole hours of coach training, and here's your team. We made a difference. We made a positive difference. Would I do it differently today? I'm sure I wouldn't. Thank goodness there are no recordings of that. But don't doubt where you are. Don't doubt how much you can accomplish wherever you are in your coaching journey. I want to turn now to, we're talking about improv and coaching. In a moment, we'll hear from Laura Stark. Hey, Laura. Hello. Laura has been an improv instructor, performer, and trainer for 25 years, but she was the instructor about 8 years ago when I first went to an improv class in my local town in Frederick, Maryland. And I left that class. So oh my gosh, math in the middle of a webinar? I had been coaching, let's say, for 10 years by that point. I left that class feeling more alive, buzzing, aware, mindful, present than I could remember feeling. And I thought, I have got to continue doing this. It just was such a great fit for my work. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I was thrilled when I found out you can keep taking the class over and over again, because I'm so sad when 101 ended. What was I going to do? Well, they had 102 and 103. So I have taken all of those multiple times. I just love it. I see improv for me, think of it as a gymnasium for building mindset muscles. We're going to talk about that today. First, I'd like to go, and then we'll come back to Laura and a little more. But first, I would like to show you one of the two handouts you received. You got two handouts today. If you have those, that'd be great. This one has Sherlock Holmes on it. This is the one I'll go through. If you see one of your handouts that looks a little like this, doesn't have my handwriting on it, but that's what it looks like. I'm going to go through this, and I'll also share it on the screen. So I have, for better or for worse, been a trainer since 1992. So I do think of things in terms of learning objectives. And usually we go right by these in training. I don't, but there's a tendency to. So we're here to talk about competency number 2, embodies a coaching mindset. Let me read the definition. Develops and maintains a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. So in designing this module, because Laura and I do present this for 3 hours in the CCE course, we do an hour and a half at the outset and then an hour and a half at the end to measure mindset development over a 3-month period. We're going to do a little bit shorter program today, but these are the learning objectives, and I encourage you to be gentle with yourself. I'm going to tell another quick story on myself. When the updated competencies came out and they went from 11 to 8 and embodies a coaching mindset was added, it was new. No one except people like Peter, who'd been working on it for a long, long time, knew what was in it. I kept secretly hoping it was like presence plus, you know, I could just like know about presence and it was mindset. Well, it's not. But I dragged my feet a little bit on exploring mindsets. I'm going to encourage you to be gentle with yourself. This hour we're going to spend together is designed so that you simply identify and recognize elements of mindset. That's it. Kids, look, a leaf. You were telling me about leaves. Look, a giraffe. Identify and recognize. We're in a gymnasium. I promise you, you're building mindset muscles when you identify and recognize. A next highest level is practice, and that's what we're going to do with Laura. We're going to have some fun. We're going to practice these. Now jump up to a very high level of instructional design, and you get develop and maintain. That's the competency. That's written at a very high level. I will develop and maintain a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. Yes, I will do that 365 days a year. Takes a little bit of work. Today, we're going to focus on identify, recognize, and practice. That's what you'll be doing today. So be gentle, do that. I wouldn't go for develop and maintain at this level unless you've done a lot of work on mindset. So you have that permission to be the little kid going, I saw that, I saw that. We're going to look for these 11 behavioral examples. Very quickly, mindset. I'm going to read from the PCC Markers, which was the other handout that you got. You don't have to have it in front of you, but you might like it. This was the other handout that you got, the two. I'm going to read from mindset. It says, in essence, mindset takes place over the course of a coach's professional journey and cannot be fully captured in a single moment in time. Think of it. Do you understand someone's mindset simply by looking at them? This is a little bit of an issue if you're trying to rate a recording that a coach has submitted, because we do need to understand mindset. Plus, as ICF professionals, we need to embody that mindset. So we need to understand it, even though it takes place over the course of time in my professional journey and can't be measured in a single moment. Fortunately, there are 11 skills, 11 markers in the PCC Markers that the volunteers that got together and added this competency and discussed this competency said, we believe these 11 represent evidence of embodies a mindset. This is page 2 of your handout. If you'd like, you can spend most of the rest of the time on this page. This is where we're going to be. I'm going to just quickly show you, I took the 11 markers, and as you can see, there's not much to them. There's only a word or two. I wanted to kind of strip away what you are identifying and recognizing to make it a little easier. Another quick story, I like remodeling, and I went in the store to pick out tile about 10 years ago, and it was absolutely overwhelming. I had been waiting to pick out the tile. I couldn't do it. It was overwhelming. It was too much tile. Raise your hand if you've been around too much tile. Thank you, Nanor. This can be a little overwhelming, even though we've narrowed it down to 11 of the markers. There's still a lot of content there. So I just have a word or two for us to listen for, to look for, to be aware of. I want to show you where I got them. So if you want to find out, you can duplicate that. So let's look at 4.1. The first two words say acknowledge and respect. Acknowledge and respect. What I'm acknowledging and respecting is the client's work. In PCC Marker 4.1, I am acknowledging and respecting the client's work. So the words acknowledge and respect came out of 4.1 in the PCC Markers, and your copy has those highlighted. So what you see in yellow is evidence of a coaching mindset. Everything on your page, on your handout that you see that's yellow, the ICF considered evidence of a coaching mindset. So you'll be looking, that's if you'd like to find the rest. So example 4.3, I'll do that one before we move on. 4.3, there are 5 PCC markers. 5 PCC markers that came from 5 sources of evidence that come from one PCC marker. 4.3. 4.3. We acknowledge and support our clients' feelings, perceptions, concerns, beliefs, suggestions. You will hear those in the processes we practice in improv. Are you picking up a perception from your partner? Are you hearing what you think is a belief or a concern that might be explored? You will hear those as we go through. So that's a little bit about where these come from. These are words associated with the 11 PCC markers that are evidence of a coaching mindset. Very quick, the next 2 pages, improv is in coaching, coaching is an improv. They have some similarities. I'm not going to go through those right now, but feel free to look through those. For one thing, Laura doesn't say to us, you've got your back to the audience, you've got your back to the audience. That doesn't happen in coaching. There are similarities, there are differences. And I'm going to tell you now how we're going to close in about 50 minutes or so, 45 minutes. I'll be inviting you to answer any one of these inquiries. What does this competency add to your toolkit? And why do you think it was added to the competencies? Looking back, what do you want to hardwire about this competency? And what are you inspired to do to reflect on? How are you going to integrate this learning into your coaching practice? Those are the closing questions. You answer one. My favorite people make up their own questions. They don't use my questions, they make up their own. But those are 3. Choose one for our close. That's what we will ask you to share with us at the end. So I am going to stop share. I'm going to do a little bit better job of introducing Laura here. Before I do that, what questions do you have about the PCC markers, about the evidence, about anything I just spoke about? No? I'm just curious, who here would rate yourself? I've taken an improv class, I have a concept of it. 1, 2, okay, 3 maybe. All right, gives us a feel. Laura, you've taken an improv class? Oh, the 4, okay.
I was saying I counted 4.
All righty, very good. So a little bit more about Laura. I told you I was fortunate enough to find her at the local theater in my town, and what a difference that made. I went there, by the way, because there was an article in the newspaper about the class, and it said anyone who speaks, excuse me, speaks for a living may benefit from improv. I really didn't know much about it till then. Whose line is it? You know, I watch, but I hadn't thought of taking it myself. Laura is a nationally recognized expert in the art of improvisation. As I mentioned, she said she has 3 classes today. This is her middle class today. She's performed on stage from the West Coast to the East Coast in New York City, on the West Coast, in Washington, D.C., and throughout the United States. With 25 years of experience, Laura provides seminars for middle school counselors on improvisation skills, Alzheimer's caregivers, and business professionals. And she also presents master classes in professional development for universities, nursing homes and private organizations. So I'm delighted to have Laura with us today. So we will start on some processes. Just want to check again. You have your evidence sheet. I would encourage you to have your evidence sheet in front of you. Remember, you're Sherlock Holmes. You're looking for evidence. You're looking for evidence. And what we'll do is we'll have a few volunteers at a time. We'll do a process. And the rest of the observers, we have a job. We are looking for evidence because we're going to share that evidence after the game or the process. So, Laura, are you ready for us to start with our first game? And then we'll do a process and debrief a little, a process, debrief, process, debrief. And again, at the end, you will give us your takeaways. And we do have time at the end for questions, and as well as any that may pop up. Okay, Laura, take it away.
Great. It's so nice to see everybody. I am going to ask you that you turn your microphones on because I'm just going to ask you to call out things. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you different situations, different locations, and I want you to call out just whatever you think applies to this particular thing. It doesn't matter whether we're all talking at one time or not in this particular exercise. So I want you to think of 3 things that you might find. Everybody's got that one drawer in their kitchen that they open up and that's where you throw everything. Name 3 things that you might find in that drawer. So just
Tape, batteries, keys.
Measuring tape,
Keys,
Marker,
measure,
pen,
stick gloves.
fireplace
Notepad.
starter.
Tools.
That don't work.
Yeah, I think I have all of those things in my drawer. Okay, so now the next thing is something that you might hang up on a clothesline outside.
Sheets, towel, bathing
No,
suit.
towel rags.
bathing suit.
Bathing suit,
Yeah.
wet socks,
Blanket,
garbage pen.
blinds.
Bath
I heard a lot of bathing suits. You guys must be from California. Things that you might do before you go to bed. And for those of you who are mothers, I know you're limiting yourself to 3 things, or even fathers too. But just 3 things that you might do before you go to bed.
Wash my face, brush my
And
teeth,
brush your
go to the bathroom.
teeth.
Amazon.
Yes.
Turn off the Wi-Fi.
Put on my jamana.
My
Cat's in the
fiance,
bedroom.
Cut outfit.
Turn all the lights off.
Lights off. Things, 3 things that you can do, that you can grill, that you can put on a grill.
And vegetables and
Baked
Burgers,
chicken,
vegetables,
pork,
Asparagus,
hamburgers,
and corn,
mhm,
steak, cheeseburger,
Salmon.
salmon.
I heard lots of burgers. Things that you can fold.
paper,
Paper
towel,
sheets,
clothes,
paper,
and
clothes,
eggs.
poker cards,
bags.
a
mhm,
greeting card,
clothes, yeah.
a clothes.
Documents, sheets.
Good. And the last one, things that you might, activities that you might do when you're on vacation.
Sleep.
hike, sightsee, and eat.
Hike.
Routine,
Sightseeing,
traveling on a
tours,
bus,
sightseeing,
taking
taking
photos,
pictures.
eating different exotic foods.
Have great friends.
Good. So the point of that was to just kind of get yourself out of the mindset of having to come up with the correct answer. Because the one thing about improv that makes it different from coaching is that all answers are correct. You are an expert in everything that you do, and you know everything that there is to know about a particular subject. So an exercise like this, a warm up like this, kind of gets the creative juices flowing. It gets you to your synapses firing, and it gets you to kind of the overused phrase of thinking outside of the box. So for the example, for something that you can fold, you have to think, okay, what can I fold? You know, obviously I can fold a piece of paper, but you could fold a piece of cheese. For those of you who are really good at yoga, you can fold your body. You can fold up, obviously, clothing, you know, all the different things. So you kind of think, what else could I fold? So, good. There you go.
Thank you. So we're gonna roll right into the first process here. What Laura and I will do is ask for a couple of volunteers to do that because it's just a wonderful, nice, big group. And Nanor and we have figured out, we think, how to spotlight people, which is very cool. I haven't used that before, but you'll see just the individuals participating. Like our first process, I believe, is spelling bee. Laura, so we'll have a couple of volunteers and Laura will give you all of the instructions, and there is no improv experience required, by the way, because you've already done a couple of exercises. You did great. I have one question for you on that first one. When you were calling things out to Laura, were you able to think of something else? Your to-do list, or the car needs a battery, or I was not. I'm focused on coming up with one more thing that I can fold. It really brings me here and now. So let's continue that here and now. And we for our volunteers, I want to assure you as your facilitator that we may likely laugh with you. It may seem a little silly, and Laura and my job is to make sure that you feel safe at all times and that you're learning in that safe environment. So that's my promise to you. So with that, how many volunteers do we have for our first one, Laura?
Well, we can do 2 or 4, however you want.
Maybe you do 4, and we can involve more. How's that? So do we have, raise your hand, or your virtual hand, your real hand? I guarantee you're gonna have fun. If you'd like to be a volunteer. Okay, I see Sandy. Who else? And Nanor will spotlight you.
Darren said yes.
All right. John, raise his hand. So we'll get you all, so that rather than seeing, thank you so much, and rather than seeing the big screen, we'll just see the 4 individuals who are in the spelling bee.
Who was the second person? Sorry.
There was a John. Oh, John, we've got.
Oh, thank you, Darren. I don't know who did that, but thank you.
And then
was
we
there
need one more person.
Who'd like to volunteer?
Don't be shy. It's a safe space.
That's right.
Oh, I guess we need to voluntold.
How have I not heard that word before? How have I not heard that word?
Okay, Peter is smiling so
Oh,
nice.
Marcia said she'll
About-
volunteer.
Oh, who is it? Marcia.
Marcia?
Marcia.
Oh, Marcia, I'm sorry.
As long as you'll excuse the background noise, we're having our windows cleaned today.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna play a game called Spelling Bee. Only what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have Sandy and John go first, and then we'll have Darren and Marcia go second. So what you're gonna do, Sandy, is I want you to make up a word. It really does not need to be based in reality at all. It can be a combination of 6 words that you know or 2 words that you know. It doesn't make any difference what the word is. John will then ask you to use it in a sentence, and you will use it in a sentence to try and justify the word that you just made up. And then John will have to spell it. Now, John, keep in mind that any way you spell it is the correct way to spell it. Silent cues are always encouraged. Any accents, abbreviations, anything that you want to do, any way that you spell it is the absolute 100% correct way to spell it. So Sandy, why don't you start and come up with a word for him?
Okay. All right, John, your word is chew force.
Chew force. Chew force. Can you use that in a sentence?
Yes. The steak was so well done that the technique you have to use to swallow it is this really strong chew force method.
Okay. True force. TCHIU apostrophe accent E FURSHIE silent EEH.
Perfect.
force.
Yay. Congratulations. All right. John, you create a word, and Darren, you're going to ask him to use it in a sentence and then to spell it. So John, you make up a word now.
Okay. The word is belly gaps.
Belly gaps. Belly gaps.
Mhm.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Yes, in fact, I can. So when I was having brunch that with several mimosas, that my stomach was so full that there just didn't seem to be any room for any belly gaps.
Oh, belly gaps. Yeah. BELIGAPS. Belly gaps.
All right, Darren, you make up a word for Marcia.
All right, Marcia, your word is perfunctuous.
Unctuous. Would you use that in a sentence, please?
The assassin had a perfunctuous grin as he approached his target.
Perfunctuous. P-U-R-R. P-F-U-N-C-T apostrophe exclamation point S-S-S.
Yes. Exactly. You got it. All right. And last, Marcia, if you could provide a word for Sandy.
Sandy, bubblicious.
Bubblicious. That sounds fun. Can you use that in a sentence, please?
Sure, bubblicious. When the neighbors get together, it is so much bubblicious, we never stop eating.
All right. All right. Bubblicious. CHAMPAGNE.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously a foreign word. Good job. And that's how you play spelling bee.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura. Now we have another one coming up, but before and we can go back to gallery. North. Thank you to our volunteers, Marcia, John, Sandy, and Darren. Thank you so much. Let me ask the group, what did you hear in that process that reminded you, spoke to you about anything on this list of mindset, embodies a coaching mindset? What did you hear? Oh, shout out. Thank you. Marcia and Greta. Yes.
Yeah, what I heard is acceptance.
Just say a word or two more about that. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, at first I wasn't quite certain of the instructions, but the way my partners were participating, they were just very accepting of what the other was saying and contributing, and just flowed with it. Then there was no right or wrong.
Yes. And Greta, do you use your hand up?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this was so much fun. I ticked a lot of these, and one of my favorites was customized language, because everyone was so good at following the rules. And not only that, but they customized it according to the rules of invention and spelling it back. It was so funny to watch that some of the spelling didn't have anything to do with the word. So it was customized language according to what was happening with the exercise.
Greta, thank you. In other words, in pursuit of the client's agenda, in relentless, that's not in the markers, in relentless pursuit of the client's agenda. Yes, and is one of the basic rules. Thank you, thank you. Keep your list handy. Greta, I love it. We should have, can the chapter have a prize for the most marks on the sheet? I'll leave that with you. Laura, what have we got next? Let's do another one. That was great. And we're always looking for evidence of embodies a mindset.
Right. So the next one was good, bad, worst. And for this, we can have 3 volunteers, or we can do more, 3 or 6.
Let's do 3, just in honor of time.
Okay.
So who would like to volunteer? This one is great. Peter.
Need 2 more.
We have Natalie.
All right.
Jay.
Thank you, volunteers. Thank you. Hello, Natalie. Natalie does a diversity, equality, and inclusion module with me. I'm so glad to see you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And hello, Jay.
Hi, nice to be here.
It's an East Coast crowd, maybe. I don't know.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
All right, I'll turn things over to Laura.
Okay, so this game is called Good, Bad, Worst. So I have some questions written down in front of me. And Peter, I want you to honestly and sincerely give me some good advice. And then Natalie, I want you to give me some bad advice. But offer it up as you think it's good advice, but it's really just bad advice. And then Jay, I want you to give me the worst advice that one possibly could give another person. Okay, so Natalie, your position is to give me bad advice, but not so bad that Jay has nowhere to go but death. Okay. So
Listen,
Peter,
I'll take the pressure off, Natalie. I'll come up with something worse no matter what.
So Peter, I'm going to start with you. How, if I have never filed my taxes before, how should I go about filing my taxes?
Okay, so good advice would be find someone that's reputable, that has done it before and can do it for you.
Okay, and Natalie, give me some bad advice on how I should file my taxes for the first time.
Well, what you can do is that you don't just act as if you don't know that you have to file your taxes.
That's bad advice. And Jay, the worst advice.
Just publicly state that you're not interested at this time.
All right, now we're going to switch. Natalie, I want you to give me good advice. Jay, bad advice, and Peter, the worst advice. Natalie, how I'm getting a promotion at work. How should I tell my boss that I need to make more money along with my promotion? How do I ask for a raise?
Well, when you go in, just really try to state that some of the things that you have done, I mean, to really help provide your company money.
That is good advice. Jay, some bad advice. How do I ask my boss for a raise?
Well, it's all about mindset, actually. I mean, that you're being considered for a promotion indicates that you have values. Stand up, assume it, be arrogant, and push the boundaries. You'll get what you want.
I don't know if that's bad advice or not. And Peter, the worst advice, how should I ask for a raise?
Say you're not particularly interested in this company anymore, that you think that your boss is a buffoon, and that you really do need a lot more money to put up with it all.
Okay, good. Let's do one more. Jay, you give me some good advice. Peter, you give me some bad advice. And Natalie, I want you to give me the worst advice. I've been got a little extra money in my pocket, Jay, and I was thinking about investing in the stock market. How would I go about investing in the stock market as a first-time investor?
You dedicate you dedicate a particular amount of time to doing research and come up with 4 or 5 alternatives, which could be your research or people to speak to, and then spend an hour or 2 determining which one is best by making those contacts with representatives in those fields.
Good. All right. That is good advice. Peter, why don't you give me some bad advice on that? First time investing in the stock market.
Yeah, you don't need to do any research. I found that if you take your first initial of your first name, your first and second initial of your middle name, and your third initial of your family name, and then find a stock that starts with that and invest in that.
Good. And Natalie, the worst advice that you could give me as a first-time stock market investor?
Find the best Ponzi scheme that you can. Toss it to the wind.
Toss it to the wind. Good job. So that's good, bad, worse. Congratulations. Thank you, Peter, Natalie, and Jay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and that was recorded. We're wonderful. Thank
Don't
you.
follow the bad or worse.
What did you see? Tell me what you marked down on your evidence sheet. What did you hear? What did you see? What were you aware of that would indicate a mindset, embodies a coaching mindset? Yes, Marcia.
What I saw, what stood out are client chooses. You know, they went their way with what their thought was, and also the self-perceptions and world perceptions.
Yes.
And also evokes awareness.
Yes.
What are they thinking and feeling? And so quite a few popped up.
Yeah. What else? What did you see on your evidence as you're looking for evidence? What did you see? Yes, sir, Peter.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of partnering in this. So rather, there's partnering. There was support there, or at least the attempt at support, and I think curiosity is the other one that kind of pops out for me too.
Yes. Thank you. All right, let's do another. Laura, you have a, and we'll continue as we have, looking for evidence. If you're having any, if you're not finding evidence, my suggestion is narrow this list down. Pick 1 or 2 that's of interest to you and look for those, because tile, remember tile? It's overwhelming. Pick a couple. Pick a couple and look for those. You will see them. Laura, what's next?
Okay, so for the next one, I can have as many or as few volunteers as want to play. It's just kind of a coming up with ideas based on suggestions kind of game. It's called Terrible T-shirt. So, I mean, I can take up to 6 volunteers, or I can do 2 or 3. How many would like to play?
Volunteer.
Raise your hand and we'll do a larger group if we have enough.
I've got Erica said yes, she'd volunteer.
We got Jay.
And if you played before, you can play again. You don't have to. Just, well, I did one, so I don't get to play anymore.
Come on, y'all. It's supposed to be interactive, remember?
This is a fun one. This is a really
Marcia.
fun one.
Marcia.
So we got you up, Andrew. So we've got Andrew, Jay, and Erica so far. Anybody else want to play? Oh, Marcia's going to play again. Good. Anyone else? Oh, John says he'll play. Natalie says she'll play.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay, we can go with this group. Okay, so we're going to start with Erica. So Erica, I want you to give Jay a suggestion. So, you know, you see graphic tees, you see an image on the t-shirt, and then you have either a saying at the top or at the bottom. So I want you to provide Jay with the image that you would see on a t-shirt. For example, it's a unicorn riding a bicycle. It can be as bizarre or as simple as you want it to be. It can have, try not to give him too many details because he might get lost with the details, but just give him a basic image on the t-shirt. And then Jay, I want you to use that image and come up with whatever the saying would be. Now, keep in mind, this game is called Terrible T-shirts. So this is not necessarily one that you would be like, oh yeah, I want to get that one. So it can be as relatable or as unrelatable as you want it to be. Again, there's no rules. Everything is right. You're the smartest person in the room. So Erica, why don't you start by giving Jay an image that he would find on a t-shirt. And then Jay, you will give us the saying at the top or the bottom of the t-shirt with that image.
Okay. An upside down smiley face.
An upside down what?
Smiley face?
Smiley face. Smile upside down at yourself.
And there you go. That's a terrible t-shirt. Jay, I want you to give Andrew an image for his t-shirt. And then Andrew, you come up with a slogan on the t-shirt.
Andrew, just look over Laura's right shoulder for the white dog against the green background in that quadrant painting.
That would be what's on the t-shirt.
Yep, that's the t-shirt.
Are you confused?
And that's a terrible t-shirt. All right, Andrew, you provide an image for Marcia.
I have an image of the road runner running full speed straight towards a rock wall.
It won't hurt at all.
And that's our terrible t-shirt. All right, Marcia, give an image to John.
Oh, the earth dripping with black goo.
Invest in oil.
And that's our terrible t-shirt. All right, John, you give an image to Natalie.
Okay. Let's see. So a person who's reading their cell phone, paying attention to their cell phone, and walking straight into traffic.
What's up, Doc?
And that's a terrible t-shirt. All right, Natalie, you give your image to Erica.
A grasshopper that's getting ready to take the leap, the deep dive.
Life's short.
And that's our terrible t-shirt. Good job. Good job, everybody. This is actually a kind of a rhythmy game. When we're in person, we would all clap together in terrible t-shirt, but it's hard to do that on Zoom. So I manipulate things for Zoom classes. And just so you know, that picture right there, that's what happens when you go to one of those paint your animal and drink a lot of wine. That's my beagle. So that's what that image is. And it's a terrible t-shirt. All right.
Laura,
thank you, everybody.
Thank you. What did you pick up there? What evidence did you see? What evidence were you aware of as our volunteers were interacting with each other? What did you pick up about a mindset?
Obviously, there was acting in response after acceptance.
Yeah, go ahead, shout out. I see Andrew and Sandy, yes.
Shares without attachment.
Yes.
That's
Client
okay.
chooses.
Yeah.
Curiosity and support.
Beliefs.
Suggestions.
Yep. Yeah.
Acceptance.
Acceptance. Had you thought of these particularly in terms of mindset before? Yeah.
There's one more, acts and response.
Yes. Yes. In response, when I took the PCC marker training, it was about 2 years ago, that phrase over and over and over, in response to the client, in response to the client. Now you'd think, well, duh, yeah, we're coaches, of course, but it was emphasized over and over. What I share with you is directly in response to what you shared. That relentless pursuit of the client's agenda in response. And these are kind of silly, fun games. And I'm hearing from you that you are seeing these traits as we're silly and learning. I think we have time for at least one more, Laura.
Okay.
We had, what did we have?
Professor Know-It-All.
Yeah.
So I can use 3 volunteers or 6 volunteers. We can run through it once, or we can run through it twice.
Let's try one. We'll see where we are with time.
Okay, so just need 3 volunteers.
You do not have to be an actual professor.
Put yourself out there. Who hasn't volunteered?
Yeah.
Raise your hand. If you haven't volunteered, raise your hand. There you go, Sharon.
I haven't, but I have to leave in about 3 minutes.
Ah.
Sorry.
Lori, Wendy. No, Lori. Julie.
Okay, I'll do.
Thank you. Do we
All
have
right,
a shy group? Who is that?
Julie.
Yay.
Hello, Julie.
I am.
Hello.
I can't find her. I'm sorry. 1 second.
Thank you, Laura.
There she is. Okay. Welcome.
Okay, great. So on the order of my screen, I have Sharon, Lori, then Julie. So in that order is how the order that you're going to speak. We're going to go Sharon first, Lori first, Julie first, Sharon first, Lori next, Julie third, and then back to Sharon, so on and so forth. So what's happening is, if you were in person, I would have you guys all link arms, and you are what is considered a 3-headed professor. You are one mind, but you have 3 heads. And each of these heads can only speak 1 word at a time. So I'm going to ask you some questions. And as your name suggests, you absolutely know everything. There is not an answer in the entire world that you do not know. You are indeed Professor Know-It-All. So the key to this game is to listen really carefully to what your other partners or your other heads are saying, and to make sure that you are making complete sentences and complete thoughts. So in improv, the #1 non-negotiable rule is yes and. I accept everything that you say as fact, and I build upon it. So I agree with what you say, and so that is key in this game. Evidently not key in coaching, because you can't agree with everything everybody says. But in improv, it's much more fun. So Professor Know-It-All, I have some questions here that I'm going to give to you guys, and Sharon, you will answer first, Lori, then Julie, Sharon, until we finish a complete sentence. So the first question I have for you is, Professor Know-It-All, how should I train my dog to sit? So Sharon, you start.
Carefully.
Powerfully.
Ask.
For.
Respect.
Only.
When.
Treat.
Eaten.
So far, we have carefully, powerfully, ask for respect, only when treat, eaten. That's how you get your dog to sit. Just in case anybody is curious as to how to get your dog to sit, you have to do it carefully, powerfully, and ask for respect only when treat, eaten. So I'm sure a lot of you didn't know that, but now you do. So you're welcome. The next question that I have for Professor Know-It-All is, Professor Know-It-All, how many glasses of wine is too many glasses of wine? Sharon, you begin.
When.
Buzzed.
Don't.
Continue.
Driving.
For.
Drinking.
So when I'm buzzed, I shouldn't drive. That's good to know. I'll make a note of that, a post-it near my wine cabinet. Don't drive when buzzed. Got it. Let's do one more question for Professor Know-It-All. And this is the question that has, flummoxed many a genius throughout time. Professor Know-It-All, what is the meaning of life? So you could rephrase the question to get yourself kicked off. So the meaning of life is?
Deep.
Questions.
Answers.
Knowing.
Listening.
Confused.
Logging.
Logging.
Flogging.
Learning.
Meeting. Meeting.
Continuously.
Growing.
Playing.
Enough.
I think Professor Know-It-All has given us a lot of great pointers. And I think that we all need to have that printed on a bumper sticker for our car. People will get really close to read it, but I think those are deep thoughts. So congratulations. Thank you so much, Professor Know-It-All.
Thank you.
As advertised, they did indeed know it all.
They did. Laura, thank you. Laura, thank you to all the volunteers we had today. Thank you so much. I want each of you to begin to think about, if you want to drop it in the chat, choose one of the closing questions on your handout. That's what we'll spend a few minutes on now is what are you going to do with what you learned, basically? What are you going to do with what you learned? They're on the back of your handout. And remember, my favorite people make up their own question. I didn't like those questions. I have a different question that I answered. But this is a time when please ask us any questions, and I'm going to include Laura in that. I know this from being at the theater, but improvisers who work with Laura, who have been improvising for almost as long as she had, decades in some cases, always warm up, always warm up. They do multiple shows every month. Laura's doing 3 classes today. They warm up. We are called on to prepare for coaching sessions. So Laura is a resource on how do you get your head straight, or what do you do? What questions do you have on improvisation? The link with coaching and embodies a coaching mindset. The floor is open. I'd love to take your questions.
I have a question. So this applies to both coaching and improv. I'm curious when either the client or your improv partner poses something that you don't know what to do with immediately, and you kind of have to stall for time while you think about what your response is going to be. What are strategies?
So Sandy, I think I heard client has stated something and I as coach need time.
Yes.
I don't know what's next. Am I comfortable operating in a space of not knowing?
Right.
Evidence of a mindset. Great question. What I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from the group. Unmute yourselves. What do you do? Client has presented you with content or offerings and you do not know in the moment how to reply.
Just take my time.
Pardon me?
I take my time. I oftentimes in that pause the client isn't sitting there thinking, why isn't she talking? Their mind is still going. They're still thinking deeper. Maybe they might even pipe up again and share something else that would then give you a thread to pick back up on. So I use those pauses.
Andrew, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just get curious and ask another question that helps me gain some clarification.
Curiosity, a big part of mindset. Who else? Questions. How might you use this? How might you use it with yourself before a session? How might you use it with a client during a session? How might you use it with a group if you do group coaching?
So Anne, Sheila posted a question in the chat.
Great.
Where she said, it wasn't so much a question as a comment, that she intended to be a better listener. I tend to practice listening more deeply to my clients and practice more spontaneous responses. So there's a phrase that we use in improv all the time. It's called active listening. So if I'm talking to you and you're thinking about what you're going to say in response, then you're not actively listening. What you're doing is you're crafting your response.
And I could drive.
I didn't hear that. I think he's just not muted. So that's hard to do in conversation because people talking, your story will inspire me to, oh yeah, that happened to me too. But when I'm on stage, when I'm doing improv, I try really a lot. I try really hard to make sure that I'm in the moment and that I'm an active listener, that I'm not trying to craft what my response is until I'm sure that my partner is finished. And there's beauty in silences. There's beauty in letting something sit for a second before you respond, because then you're actively listening and you're actively participating in the conversation. or the scene that's happening. I don't know if that was helpful at all.
Thank you, Laura. I see Julie has her hand up, but I want to check with Daryl and Lenore. How are we on time?
Yeah, I was going to say we have about a little over 5 minutes, so probably only time for you one question, maybe 2 questions if one is a simple answer. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I see Julie has her hand up, and then we'll close our Q&A. Thank you, Daryl.
Just a comment. Thank you, and just to what Laura was saying, I guess those were my sentiments in terms of like I just had a felt sense of I have no idea how I'm going to do this, what I'm going to say, but I had to wait for the person before me to speak. And so I just really had this like sense in my body of like, wow, I'm suspended in the unknown, and it could be fun and I could be silly and whatever it can be, however it's perceived. But I just really enjoyed that physical experience. So thank you.
And Ann, Jay has his hand. I think he has a question, so we have time to get him in there.
Jay, yes.
Actually, it wasn't a question, it was a comment. What would I do with it? I had always wanted to take improv. This only fuels that fire. I was planning on doing it this year, and this supports what advice I got, which was really great from one of my mentors, who said one of the main reasons that she felt clients leave coaches is because they're bored. So this activates my desire to be bold and to play outside of my range.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. I haven't looked through all the chats, but I just want to leave you with this. Improv it was one way. There are many other ways for you to establish a mindset process. I liked this one because in my mind, it was easy to see similarities between the two. And again, remember the differences, but we are called on to have a mindset process. Remember, develop and maintain that maintenance. The ICF is going to start calling us. I'm calling about your maintenance agreement with competencies 2, 5, and 3. There's a lot of maintenance in the competencies. You were at the gym today. If anybody asked you, you were at the gym. You were at the gym doing mindset exercises. So thank you all so much. This has just been a blast for me. I hope for Laura as well. And we'll turn things back over to wonderful Lenore and Daryl. Thank you very much.
Daryl, do you want to say anything?
I just want to say it was a pleasure to have you, and watching this and not volunteering is, I'm glad I didn't volunteer or be voluntold, but it was enjoyable on the other end, just the laughter and coming with you all when you were doing that. And so thank you to our volunteers, our brave volunteers who participated today, because you made it fun for the audience as we were listening to there. And I saw some reaction of people, doing the laughing faces as we saw some of those great interactions and responses with our volunteers. So thank you. And again, thank you, Ann and Laura, for being with us today.
Yeah. I thought this was wonderful as well. When Julie was sharing and the physical reaction she was talking about is when I got the essence of that exercise, because as watching from the outside, I think I didn't capture what she talked about in the moment, where it's like, your body is like waiting for that, for the response. So, and I, for me, Ann and Laura, I think one of the things that I got really is to be gentle with myself, and that perfectionism doesn't pay out here. And just to be present and to be with the client, and that's it, and anything else is okay, pretty much. So thank you, Ann. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please, I am putting in chat right now our events page at ICF Orange County. Please join us for our upcoming events. And I want to also remind you that there'll be a survey coming out very shortly about this event. I think Anne's gonna get like raving reviews. It was really, this experiential work is, I think, what we're striving for here at ICF Orange County this year. And Anne, thank you for hitting the mark on that for us. Yeah, and so you'll be receiving your CCEUs as well as this recording. Thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous afternoon and evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Oh yeah, I should stop recording. Stop.
And I hope I'll be able to read through the chat. I have